Girl of my ex-wife turned out to be my daughter, and she urgently needed donor help from her father but the ex. I was at my desk, sipping the coffee my assistant brought me, though it had the artificial sweetener I disliked. I joked about switching to black tea if she kept using it. My mind was preoccupied with a pressing copyright issue that needed resolution, but as usual, the federal government was slow in releasing the necessary documents. Their notorious inefficiency was stalling my progress. I couldn't help but wonder how many layers of bureaucracy a simple letter had to go through before any action was taken. I felt stuck, unable to move forward with my next project, and the potential financial losses were looming. Political correctness had complicated even the simplest tasks, making me feel increasingly out of touch with the modern world. Lisa, my assistant, walked in and interrupted my thoughts. "There is a young lady here to see you," she said. She wouldn't give her name, but handed me this picture. As I took the photo from Lisa, a sense of dread washed over me. Why now? I thought. The picture was of Caroline, my ex-wife, and me on our wedding day, taken 15 years ago. Memories of betrayal and heartache resurfaced. People thought I had come back to lick my wounds, and they were right. Back then, I was naive about money and power, but things had changed. "Find out if she's Jessica or Amanda Taylor," I told Lisa, handing her a USB drive and a Ziploc bag. "If she is, show her the video on this drive. If she wants a copy, give her everything and return the original to me. Once you're done, come back and I'll answer your questions." At 48, I had accepted bachelorhood. My brief marriage to Caroline Marie Taylor had left me with serious trust issues. Now, people had to earn my trust, which wasn't easy. I stood tall at 63, with a 40-inch waist, weighing 180 pounds. I hit the gym for 3 hours after work. My brownish-black hair was starting to gray, but I still caught people's attention. Casual relationships were fine, but I had sworn off marriage and love. An hour later, Lisa returned with the young lady who looked determined to get answers. She sat down, her serious expression showing she wouldn't leave until she got what she came for. Her emerald eyes were piercing as she waited for me to speak. "Do you know which one it was?" I asked. "Amanda," she replied. "Who is she and why is she so upset?" She cried, saying we've been lied to all our lives. If I'm right, he was lied to as well. Amanda is one of identical twins. The clip you saw was her mother's last words to me before our first divorce hearing, 9 months before the twins were born. I learned about them through friends, not from their mother. The rest of the items on the drive explain what would happen if I tried to contact them. Her father, then with the CIA, got me fired from the FBI with false charges because he hated me. The documents imply there's a contract on my life if I interfere with them. He was a powerful, dangerous man. She divorced me to marry my former best friend, with whom she'd been having an affair for years. As far as I know, he's their biological father. How did she find me and what does she want? Amanda found an old photo in their attic with your name on it, Googled you and recognized you. She also found the original marriage certificate and divorce papers. She tracked you down through social media and other web searches. She's looking for a bone marrow match for her twin sister, who is running out of time. Why come to me, not their father? It doesn't make sense, I replied. Her mother was with their father months before I knew her. Her father assured that Amanda suspected something and convinced doctors to run a DNA test during the bone marrow test. Mr. Taylor isn't their biological father. What do you think? Lisa asked, her expression turning into a big smile as tears formed in my eyes. If Amanda was right, it meant my ex had lied to me all those years ago. I wondered if I might be their father. I knew she was related to you the moment I saw her, Lisa said, standing up. She has a look that makes it clear. Are you ready for perhaps the biggest shock in years, John? Send the information on the drive to my publishers. Tell them to release it in a way that can't be traced back to me, and not to disclose my writing name because my life might still be at risk. Stress that it needs to be made public quickly. Then find someone to do a fast DNA test and set up an appointment. If I am their father, I want proof when I confront their mother. If it's true, I need a litigation lawyer to fight for my parental rights. Clear my schedule. I need to go to Jessica's hospital ASAP, I said. Now I've got to find Amanda. Amanda, come in and introduce yourself, Lisa called. Amanda walked in, and the moment I saw her, I knew. She looked just like my younger sister at 13. I choked up, overwhelmed with emotion. Amanda and I both started crying. Lisa took a few pictures with her phone to capture this life-changing moment and then left us alone. Amanda, you have an appointment for blood testing at 5. They promised a rush job and I charged it to the corporate card, Lisa said when she returned. I also arranged for you to meet your sister Emma at a restaurant at 6 and reserved a private table. Amanda needs to see what we do. Emma will make sure her kids are taken care of. She knows you have important family news. I stood there, emotional and unsure, watching Amanda walk toward me. I had so many questions. I hugged her tightly as Lisa closed the door. It was hard to grasp that I might be a dad. Amanda seemed to feel the same, trembling as we left my office. We tried to take things slowly, like taking baby steps to figure everything out. After arranging for the clinic to email the report, we headed out for a late lunch. I learned that Amanda had skipped school and driven all day until she had to rest at a station. I was furious that she would do something so risky, but held my tongue, realizing I might be reacting like an overprotective dad. It also reminded me of something I would have done at her age. When we arrived at the restaurant, I noticed Emma's car. I know we're here to meet your sister, but why did Lisa set this up without talking to you first? Amanda asked. You're about to see what Lisa and I saw when we first met you, I replied. It will explain why we believe you and Jessica are my daughters and why I was shocked when the test came back positive. Can I call you Dad? Amanda asked. I laughed and smiled. I'd love that. It was a family restaurant, a step up from Red Lobster, with an excellent reputation. The owner and hostess led us to our private booth immediately. I ordered a bottle of champagne and extra tissues. Emma had her back to us, so I asked Amanda to wait while I approached. Hi, sis. Thanks for meeting me, I said. Emma looked up and said, You look happy. What's going on? Emma, stand up. There's someone I want you to meet, I said as Amanda approached. This is Caroline's daughter, Amanda. Emma turned and stared, looking like she saw a younger version of herself. They had similar features, long brunette hair, high cheekbones, small ears, light blue eyes, and warm smiles. Oh my God, Emma exclaimed. John, you should have warned me. This is unbelievable. How long have you known about her? About 9 hours, Amanda said emotionally. I surprised him at his office. Lisa and Dad knew immediately. Seeing you, I understand why. The server returned with tissues and understood why we needed privacy. Emma, between tears, explained 3 more people would join us, so the hostess moved us to a larger table. Emma urgently called her husband, telling him to come over immediately, and informed our parents, declaring it a family crisis. Mom, worried, asked what was happening, but Emma said she couldn't explain over the phone. Emotions were running high. Then a message from Lisa arrived stating the publisher had released the news and it would be on the 700 broadcast. We were just starting to relax with our first glass of champagne when Emma's husband and my parents walked in. My dad's booming voice made me laugh as he said, There better be a good reason for this. Emma and I stood to greet them. Mom, Dad, Scott, I'd like you to meet Caroline's daughter, Amanda Taylor, Emma announced with pride. My mother immediately recognized the resemblance and her face lit up with pride. She had always wanted a granddaughter. My dad was taken aback, momentarily speechless. When he finally found his voice, he said, I can see the resemblance, but it's still a shock. My mom, too emotional to speak, sat beside Amanda, holding her hand tightly. My dad, brimming with pride, ordered 2 more bottles of champagne. Once our glasses were refilled, I stood up. I need to explain, I said as Amanda started recording with my phone. I told them how we had met and recounted the day's events. My dad then stood up. Amanda, we don't need a DNA test to recognize what's obvious. Welcome to our family. You have 2 more aunts who are excited to meet you. Promise us you'll always consider this family your home. Amanda took the phone and said, I came here looking for the truth, unsure of what I would find. Today has changed everything for Dad and me. We had no idea until now. Meeting Aunt Emma showed me what unconditional love really is. My twin sister Jessica will be overjoyed. As I glanced around the table, everyone was visibly moved. Even my father, who never showed much emotion, had tears in his eyes. My mom, holding up 4 fingers, cried louder. I captured everyone's happy tears before stopping the recording. Amanda added her and her sister's contact information to my phone and texted Jessica, showing me the video she sent. Amanda's message read, If what we believe is true, the DNA test will confirm it. Watch the 700 News. Love your twin. My mother, still in disbelief, asked for more proof. Amanda showed her photos of herself and Jessica. My mom insisted on getting copies for her laptop and displayed them on the screen for everyone to see. Amanda then turned off her phone and put it back in her purse, making me realize no one knew her whereabouts. My phone rang. It was Jessica. I stood up and moved to a quieter area to answer. My dad noticed my tears and gave me a questioning look. Amanda mouthed, "It's my sister." My dad nodded understandingly, and I took the call. "Hello, this is Jessica." After seeing the video, I had to call. She won't be home until at least 900 because she's stopping by the police station for an update on Amanda. I'm pretending to know nothing. The police were here earlier and left their card. What should I do? Get him to watch the 700 News and pay close attention to what's revealed about me. Tell him you'll talk when your parents aren't around and show him the video. Give him my number and ask him to text first before calling? He'll understand after watching the news, I advised. Once we have the DNA proof, Amanda and I might bring the whole family. What do you mean? Jessica asked. After explaining Amanda's efforts, I said, the family will spread the word. I don't know how many will come, but those who can will. Why? She asked. Because in the Williams family, blood is thicker than water. If I'm not a match, someone else might be. Just like that? Jessica asked skeptically. No doubt. You'll see, I said with a chuckle. We may be strangers now, but that won't last. We talked a bit more before saying goodbye, and she replied with relieved sobs. After ordering dinner, I explained to the family why Amanda was here. Immediately, cell phones started buzzing as everyone spread the word and gathered potential matches. My mother took charge of organizing everything. Amanda, how did you get here? My father asked. I drove my old 1984 Voyager van. It's barely holding together, she laughed. It's in Dad's parking lot. Take that van to my dealership in the morning. She's not driving back in that. It's a miracle she made it here, my dad said firmly. At her age, you had just as much sense as she does. She's determined. What do you plan to give her, I asked. She can pick out a new one, he replied with a wink and a smile. If I could choose, it would be a 4X4. I love the outdoors, Amanda said. My dad responded with a big grin. That's perfect. We all love the outdoors. If the weather allowed, we were always fishing, camping, or hunting. He began reminiscing about the summer I learned to water ski and barefoot, sharing many stories like he was holding court. Both my parents insisted Amanda stay with them for the night, agreeing it wouldn't look right for us to be alone. After dinner, Dad drove them to her van and then brought it home. My mother was ecstatic, already planning how to spoil her new granddaughter. Dad ended up waiting until 200 a.m. for them to get home. Around 11 p.m., the police investigator called me. It took him 3 hours to complete a background check on me. The media was buzzing with questions about the information I released. We discussed the situation and related issues. Seeing the 3 generations in the video had answered many of his questions. I told him we were expediting DNA tests to confirm our relationship and that Amanda was with my parents. Once confirmed, we would return to see if I could be a match for Jessica. I asked him to buy us some time and promised to keep him updated on our progress. Jessica later told me he reported back to her about our conversation. I was confronting my past again, but with a new outlook. This time, I wouldn't be intimidated by my ex-wife's family's power and money. I would leverage the media, the courts, and the truth to my advantage. I had the resources, the proof, and a growing determination. I didn't seek revenge, just justice through the truth. I was ready to take on 4 people and the federal government. The next morning, I was in my office, ensuring any schedule changes wouldn't affect me much and setting up tasks for Lisa while I was away. Lisa kept checking the email accounts like an overprotective mother, questioning me about my day and extracting all the details she could. To be honest, I never tired of looking at Lisa Green. In her youth, she must have been every teenage boy's dream. Her naturally styled brown hair accentuated her soft features, and her piercing emerald green eyes and full lips were still captivating. As a single man, I often admired her, but was thankful she never caught me looking. Finally, she received the DNA test results, printed them, and exclaimed, "It's confirmed! You are her father!" Lisa immediately called the lab to send the information to Jessica's specialist and began searching for the toughest litigation lawyer in New York. After vetting a few, she selected the best and arranged a Skype chat. The lawyer agreed to work on a percentage basis, confident it was a slam dunk. With the DNA proof, we would go after my ex-wife, her husband, and her parents for denying me my parental rights. The restrictive court order against me would be overturned, proving their deliberate actions. The supposed contract on my life, even if not factual, would demonstrate their attempts to intimidate and control. The lawyer saw the potential for a significant case, even before involving the government. I asked Lisa to send a dusty gray box from the safe to my new lawyer. Inside was critical evidence that Caroline's father had tried to wreck my career and marriage. Gathering this proof had taken years of effort, cutting through layers of bureaucracy. Eventually, a police officer leaked a video, changing the story into one of a runaway daughter finding her biological father to save her sister, which caused a media storm. "Mom, it's confirmed," I said over the phone. "I have 2 daughters, thank God. Be ready to leave by 600 a.m. from the car lot. I'll inform everyone." "Have you contacted your daughters?" she asked. We were driving a fully loaded 3-year-old Ford Explorer heading to Ego, New York. Amanda and I led the convoy with my parents in a tour bus and 23 other vehicles following us. Just as we were on the move, my phone rang. Amanda answered and put it on speaker. "CNN is tracking you," Jessica informed us. After exchanging greetings, there is a tour bus with a sign that says, "The Williams are coming. 1 out of 51 should be a match. We have the DNA test confirming he's our father. I'm driving a new 3-year-old Ford Explorer," Amanda responded. "Dad said if it was verified, a lot of family would come, but I never anticipated this," Jessica said. "It's given me hope I never imagined. I can't remember feeling this good." Dad's family spread the word and people emerged from everywhere. I met so many relatives this morning. It will take multiple introductions to remember their names. I met first, second, and even third cousins. I am so proud. I want to change my last name to Williams, Amanda declared. I never knew families like this existed. I was so overwhelmed I nearly drove off the road. That's when I decided to write about this incredible experience in my next book. My daughters were still talking about Amanda's experiences when Jessica said she had to go. Her mother had just walked in. "Dad, are you okay?" Amanda asked, concerned. "I saw you get very emotional. How do you think I feel?" I discovered I have 2 daughters who were raised by my ex-wife and a former friend without my knowledge. One is vibrant and full of life. The other is on the verge of dying. One is so strong and independent she moves mountains without a second thought, just like I would, and she wants to take my name, I replied, my voice thick with pride and emotion. "Amanda, I was so focused on saving my sister's life that I didn't consider the impact on you. I wasn't a good match because I inherited a faulty gene from our mother. The emotional turmoil I've caused will linger for days." "Can you forgive me?" "For what? For coming into my life and turning everything upside down? No. That's what life is about. You've given everyone another person to love. You've given me a chance to be a real dad," I said, tears streaming down my face. "Your grandparents adore you. My mother is so proud to see her face in you. It means everything. You and your sister have become her favorites by birthright. She's been spoiling us. We went shopping, and if she bought me something, she got one for Sue, too. She laughed, saying she had years of spoiling to catch up on. That's Mom. You'll find it impossible to distance her from you." "I know I've tried," I said. "Emma and my sisters will brag about this for weeks. By the end, this will become a family legend shared for years." We learned that as soon as Caroline saw the live newsfeed about our arrival, she started having severe panic attacks. The walls she had built around her lies were crumbling. Jessica, feeling strong and empowered, confronted her as soon as she turned off her phone. "Mom, why did you hide the truth about our real dad?" Jessica demanded. When she got no answer, she pressed harder. "You hid the truth from us, made decisions about our lives. What gave you the right to play God?" Even Dad didn't know. "If Amanda hadn't found out about him and sought the truth, would you have let me die?" Caroline had no answers, never expecting the truth to come out. Her father had hated John from the start and did everything to drive him away. Fortunately, Jessica's doctor walked in at that moment. We received DNA from a man we didn't know, proving he is Jessica's biological father. He is coming to be tested, and there's a good chance he's a bone marrow match. He should be here tomorrow afternoon, and for his protection, hell be under guard, the doctor said before leaving. Mom, my bio-dad is coming with 50 others in case he's not a match. He wants to give me a fighting chance, Jessica stated. Why? Caroline asked. To him and his family, blood is thicker than water. Though I'm a stranger to them, I am family, and family comes first, she replied. You had to know we look like our real dads, Mother. Watch this video, it proves everything. Caroline watched the video of my family meeting Amanda. There was no doubt 3 generations shared the same face. She could no longer deny the truth. Her daughters had proof, and her husband's actions were backfiring. Then a man appeared at Jessica's room entrance asking for Caroline. When she admitted she was Caroline, he handed her a large legal envelope saying, "You have been served." Caroline fell to her knees, sobbing. Jessica, furious, felt no pity. Mom, why did Grandpa put a contract on my bio-dad's life? Jessica asked, knowing she wouldn't get an answer. Brian Taylor had just left a corporate meeting. As he walked down the hall, he was served with legal papers. He sat down in the reception area to read them. The first document was a lawsuit against him and his wife for denying John his legal rights as the father of his daughters. The second was against his in-laws and himself, accusing them of conspiring to ruin John's marriage and career. It was clear John was seeking revenge, demanding sole custody of his daughters. He argued that if Amanda hadn't found him, he would never have known about them. He claimed moral abandonment, suggesting Caroline and Brian would have let Jessica die to keep their secrets. Proving otherwise in court would be difficult, given the media coverage. Brian remembered when he and John were university roommates and football teammates. Both had pursued Caroline, but John won her over. Brian had even been the best man at their wedding. However, Caroline's father never approved of John due to his background. He convinced Brian to pursue Caroline, and Brian agreed. With her father's influence, John was kept busy with FBI assignments, leaving Caroline and Brian alone together. Eventually, Caroline and Brian became lovers while John was undercover for 3 months. Her father had recorded their affair and confronted John with the evidence when he returned. Caroline, unaware she was pregnant, thought her missed periods were due to stress. Delighted, her father saw John file for divorce immediately. When the twins were born, it was clear John was their father. However, Caroline's father had already falsely accused John, resulting in his unjust dismissal. It took John 6 years to clear his name, during which he left the area under a cloud of disgrace. Meanwhile, Caroline and Brian married and had 2 sons. The unedited tapes would later reveal the conspiracy between Caroline's father and Brian to undermine the marriage. Brian pondered how Caroline would react when this truth came to light. Amanda and I arrived at our final stop of the night around 11:00 p.m., utterly exhausted after a 19-hour drive. We ordered a light meal to our rooms and fell asleep quickly, only to wake at 3:00 a.m. to the wake-up call. Amanda and I departed early. I had a clandestine meeting scheduled with a police officer and an FBI representative. The rest of our group left at 8:00 a.m. for the 8-hour drive. Amanda dropped me off at the Ego Police Department, where I met Detective Thomas Grant and FBI agent Ryan Davis. We discussed Caroline's father's interrogation for over an hour and a half. I provided my lawyer's contact details and left a USB drive containing all my evidence. I was placed under official protection until my departure, escorted by security. At the hospital, I underwent a blood draw to determine my eligibility as a bone marrow donor. As I approached Jessica's private room, I overheard Amanda and Jessica in conversation. The hospital staff recognized me as the author, and I signed a book for one of the nurses. Walking into Jessica's room, Amanda exclaimed in surprise, "Dad!" Jessica looked frail, her skin loose, reflecting her nearing end-of-life stage. Despite this, her smile was broad, eyes bright with hope. "Jessica, they're rushing the test results. They should be in within 20 minutes. The rest of the family is checking into their hotels. My parents are currently having their bone marrow drawn and will meet you soon. If there's more than one match, the doctor plans for a simultaneous double transplant in both arms," I explained, trying to maintain composure. Jessica broke down in tears, and I sat on the edge of her bed, comforting her until she calmed. Amanda captured a poignant photo of us both in tears of joy and relief. She was beaming with pride, rightfully so. I realized the immense effort she had put forth, and I was overwhelmed seeing my 2 daughters together for the first time. "Grandma, Grandpa, come meet my sister," Amanda announced excitedly. The five of us engaged in conversation for over an hour until Jessica's doctor entered, smiling. My mother and I are perfect matches for Jessica, I announced. Dr. Walker asked if we were prepared for surgery check-in at 500 a.m. the next day. Both my dad and I agreed, whispering, "Thank God we prayed for a miracle all the way up." "Don't you need my parents' permission?" Jessica asked. "Normally, yes. However, we received a court order this morning thanks to Mr. Williams, allowing us to proceed if he or a relative is a match. The judge believed that your mother and her husband weren't prioritizing your needs. Mr. Williams will cover all non-insurance costs," Dr. Walker explained. Amanda smiled. "I'm not surprised, sis. With what Mama and Brian did, Dad had no choice but to use the courts to prevent delays. A security guard then alerted us that we were about to be featured on national news." Jessica switched the TV to CNN, revealing my identity as the author of a popular book series worth an estimated $60 million. Amanda, Jessica, and the doctor were astonished, while my parents looked at me in shock. They had no idea. They thought I was merely an independent corporate financial advisor. "My God, Dad," Jessica exclaimed. "I've read all your books. They're fantastic." I chuckled. After my former life was shattered, I had to reinvent myself. Writing became my therapy. The success of my first book was a turning point, and it only grew from there. I keep my books current, exposing raw truths about world events, societal views, and morals, whether people like it or not. For the first time in 13 years, I checked into a hospital. Alongside my mom, my new daughter wanted to share a room with me, but hospital security wouldn't allow it. Amanda spent the evening running between 3 different rooms. My dad called relatives to update them. Caroline and Brian arrived after work, greeted with coldness. Jessica informed them she was being prepped for surgery, set to receive a double bone marrow transplant the next morning due to a court order. "How?" Caroline asked. "Mom, my bio-dad and his mother are perfect matches. Both are donating so I can recover fully," Jessica calmly explained. "Mom, do you know who David Porter is?" "Has your favorite author?" "Well, David Porter is a pen name for John Evan Williams, my bio-dad." Jessica dropped the bombshell. Caroline and Brian turned pale. They had hoped the court case would quietly disappear, but John's net worth proved he wasn't after money. He sought justice. John had always believed in law and order, which had made him a successful agent until his termination. "Mom, did you know your father has been in FBI custody all day? You might want to check with Grandma to see if he's home. Can you explain why this is happening?" Jessica demanded with a smile. Amanda was somewhere in the hospital, either in Dad's room or Grandma Watson's. If Caroline and Brian wanted to see her, Amanda and I were in my hospital room discussing how she would handle her mother when Caroline found her. A security guard knocked and poked his head in. "Mr. Williams, do you know these two?" he inquired. "Miss Fiancé, didn't you see my ring?" Amanda answered as she opened the door for Caroline and Brian. "Dad, I wouldn't trust these two for a moment. They're just trying to cover their backs." "You don't know the half of it," Amanda began. "Your dad's lawyer has video evidence showing your stepfather receiving a check from your grandfather as payment to break up your parents' marriage. If successful, he would manage your grandparents' finances for a 2 annual fee." "How do you know this is true?" Caroline demanded. "And who are you?" "Mom, she's Dad's fiancée and a skilled researcher. Her name is Lisa Green, and I trust her more than you," Amanda asserted firmly. Caroline's face drained of color. Her daughters were distancing themselves, and there was nothing she could do. Lisa spoke the truth, and I backed her up. I instructed my lawyer to release all video and audio tapes to the FBI, including a letter from Caroline's father admitting he paid for the recordings out of spite. He didn't care about the cost or who he trampled over to get what he wanted. I said, my eyes locked on Caroline. She turned to Brian, searching for a denial, but his guilty expression said it all. In that moment, Caroline realized the depth of loss when I walked away, the only man who truly loved her. "Lisa, a piece of advice: don't let anyone manipulate you like I did," Caroline said. Then, turning to me, she added, "John, I need to talk to you alone after the surgery. Right now I have to go home and think. Amanda, will you walk me to my car?" Amanda nodded. "I'll be back soon. Mom and I need to discuss a few things. Lisa, stay with Dad until I return." We watched them leave. Caroline held it together until she was out of sight, then broke down in tears. Both Lisa and I understood that she had just realized the full extent of what had been done. Brian, who had always lived a privileged life, was paralyzed by fear. The truth had surfaced, shattering their lives. Caroline would never trust him again. John, I dreaded this day. I never thought you'd return. If we had met by chance, I could have ignored it, Brian said. I never saw this coming. It's best I leave and say nothing more. He left, leaving us in silence. I turned to Lisa, seeing her blush for the first time as I looked at her with genuine affection. I was finally opening myself up. Was she playing me? Or was she finally revealing her true feelings? Did I love her as a friend or something more? Either way, my daughters had awakened me. I had been living in others' shadows, finding joy in their excitement instead of creating my own. Lisa, we need to talk while I'm recovering, I said softly. These past few days have opened my eyes. I got comfortable on the sidelines instead of being in the game. John, when I got divorced, you stepped in. My kids were still young, and you've been more of a dad to them than their biological father. From baseball games to father-daughter dances, you were always there. I know why you pay me more than the going rate. You want to ensure the kids in your heart are well cared for, Lisa said. On their birthdays, you always went all out, making them the envy of their friends. During summer breaks, you took us on special trips, creating lifelong memories. You answer their questions like a father should. They love you, and you love them. Your only problem is your fear of commitment. I tried to speak, but couldn't. Lisa was right, and her words hit me hard. So did Amanda's. I walked over to Lisa and sat beside her, taking her hand and looking into her eyes, gathering my thoughts. Caroline betrayed me. Her father intimidated me, and my best friend deceived me. I lived with constant threats. I put myself in protection mode until a few days ago. Now that I've realized it, can we go on our first real date? Or is it too late for you and me? I asked. Took you long enough, you old fool, Lisa said before kissing me. I'm texting our kids to tell them we're now a couple and working things out. Pretty confident, I said with a smile. I texted Amanda, thanking her and asking if everything was okay. She responded, Mom didn't know. She's taking it hard and won't be back tonight. Let Jessica know. Lisa and I went up to Jessica's room. After introducing Lisa as my girlfriend, we told her what had happened earlier and showed her Amanda's text. We had just finished when my sister Emma walked in. I just had to meet her, Emma said. Lisa, what are you doing here? I want to say something, but Emma figured it out, I replied. He finally got it, didn't he? Emma said with a smile. Took him long enough. Jessica, this is your Aunt Emma, and the man coming in is your Uncle Scott, Emma's husband. You'll soon learn we speak our minds, like it or not. I excused myself and went to the nurse's station, texting Amanda to ask about Jessica's pizza preferences. She replied that Jessica likes everything but anchovies. I ordered 3 extra-large pizzas and 3 2L colas for quick delivery. I also called Dad, asking him to bring Mom up in 30 minutes for a pizza party. We pushed the no-eating for 8 hours rule but got carried away. The head nurse came in to calm us down but left with a slice of pizza. Later, she stopped me and said, Your actions lifted the spirits of the whole floor. I can't thank you enough. At 5:00 a.m., they took me and my mom to prepare for the operation. We supported each other until we were wheeled in. I stayed awake until the medication kicked in. When I woke up, it was done. Now came the waiting and praying. Dr. Walker informed everyone that the bone marrow transfer went well, but it would take a few hours to see if it was successful. It was. Hearing this, most of the family started preparing to go home. Lisa, I said, is the worst patient ever. But I'm not sick, I replied. You're like a bull in a china shop, impatient, unruly, and miserable. Keep it up and you'll get a bad reputation, Lisa told me. Lisa said my mother was doing well. When she was sure I was stable, she gave me my phone back. The first texts I saw were from Lisa's kids, both asking when she would get her engagement ring and when they would meet their new sisters. Lisa, your kids are smart, I said, showing her the phone. I told them I was coming to watch over you after the operation. They had a lot of questions and the whole story came out. They weren't surprised. They said, Mom, he's always treated us like his own. Most of our friends envy us for having him as a dad. We've always seen him as our real father, Lisa said, her eyes moist with tears as she read the note. I guess we won't have a long engagement, I replied with a grin. Have you heard from the twins? Amanda and her mother are with Jessica. She's doing well under the circumstances. Even though she's still on medication, she's full of questions, Lisa informed me. Amanda told her about the pizza party. Jessica can't believe how much she resembles her aunt and grandmother. She's eager to have a girls' day out with them when she's better. Get me my pants. I need to see her myself and then check on Mom, I insisted. The nurses tried to stop me, saying it was too soon after surgery, but I wouldn't be swayed. So off we went, hand in hand. Surprisingly, my pain was manageable. Lisa and I immediately noticed Jessica's improvement. Her complexion looked healthier, and the sparkle in her eyes almost brought me to tears. "Who are Michael and Samantha Green?" Amanda asked. "They're my kids, ages 10 and 8. "Why?" Lisa replied. "I got a Facebook friend request from them this morning. So did Jessica," Amanda said. "Both of you need to read what they sent me," I said, handing Amanda my phone. She read it, smiled, and passed it to Jessica. "I need this back to add their phone numbers to my contacts," I said. Caroline then asked if she could talk to me privately, so we went to the waiting room. "John, I had a long talk with my mother last night. She admitted that she remembered Dad's hatred towards you, but never thought it would go this far. My daughters want to finish the school year here and then move in with you. They want their last name changed to yours. They feel that what Brian and I did is unforgivable," Caroline revealed. "I can't argue with them. They made it clear they'd take me to court if I refused. They no longer trust me, and I can't blame them. Will you take them? You know my family wouldn't let me say no, no matter how I felt. I will gladly take them, and so will Lisa. We'll just need a bigger place. I'll drop the suit against you if you agree to joint custody," I replied. "The suit will still proceed against the rest of your family. The twins are old enough to decide the rest." Caroline agreed to joint custody. I offered to pay for their name change, but she declined. We walked back into Jessica's room together. The girls watched us intently. "Lisa, it looks like we're going to need at least a 6-bedroom house," I said. Lisa smiled, and the girls squealed with delight. Caroline said, "Girls, your father and I agree. You get your wishes. If Lisa agrees, I'll call the lawyer tomorrow to start the legal process for your name change." "John," Lisa asked, "are you ready for this? A house full of teenagers? No one's ever truly ready, but we adapt. I'm just getting used to the idea of 2 carrying my name," I said. "Make that 4. Michael and Tim want you to adopt them. They're already signing their names as Williams," Lisa said. "Call Robert Martin's firm to start the paperwork, then text the kids to let them know our plans. We need to find out which areas have the best schools so we know where to look for our new home," I suggested. Amanda picked up her phone, opened her contacts, and made a call on speaker. "Hello," Michael said. "Who is this?" "This is Amanda, your soon-to-be older sister." "Is Samantha with you?" Amanda explained. "Prove it. I can't just take your word for it," Michael said. "Dad taught us not to take calls or messages from unknown sources without proof." "Seriously? Is this a scam?" "Michael, John and I are getting married," Lisa said. "You're talking to John's daughter, Amanda. We're all going to be Williams. Jessica and I are changing our last names, and your dad and I have started the process for him to adopt you and change your name to Williams, too," Amanda added. "Awesome. Tell Dad it's about time." "How is Jessica?" Samantha replied. "We've been waiting to hear." Lisa and I exchanged a look, witnessing the first conversation of our blended family. She squeezed my hand in support. "I'm getting better," Jessica said. "So far, so good. I'll text you both so you can add my number. Jessica, Amanda, our dad is the only father we've known. Our bio dad was gone before we even knew him. Your dad has been better than any of our friends' parents. Mom's been in love with him for a long time. When we all come together, we need to accept that we're siblings, nothing more, nothing less," Samantha declared with resolve. "Michael and I won't let anything disrupt our family unity." My daughters nodded in agreement. Lisa, her eyes shining with tears, said, "They've truly embraced your values and principles. You should be proud of them." "I am," I replied, feeling an immense swell of pride. We said our goodbyes for now and made our way to see my mom. Dad was with her when we walked in, catching them both by surprise. Dad noticed Lisa's expression and smiled knowingly. "Mom," I began, "you're already up and about. Have you seen Jessica?" "How is she?" "She's improving," Mom replied. "Her complexion looks better and she's in good spirits, but it's still early days." "We need to have a serious conversation if you both have the time," I said. "We're not going anywhere, so let's hear it," my dad responded. Jessica and Amanda will be living with me after the school year, and they'll be changing their last name to ours, I explained. Caroline has agreed to joint custody and the name change. It was the twins' idea. That's wonderful news, both my parents said in unison. But that's not all, Lisa added. Your son has decided to make an honest woman out of me. Patricia, are you ready to help plan a wedding? Mom's eyes filled with tears and Dad's smile broadened. They didn't need to say anything, we knew they approved. I'll be adopting Michael and Samantha, and they'll take my last name too. Lisa and I will start house hunting as soon as we get back, I added. What finally made you come to your senses? My dad asked, grinning. We all knew how you both felt about each other. I've been trying to get your mother's approval to knock some sense into you. Peter Williams, behave yourself. You're not at the yard selling a car, Mom said, playfully scolding him. Lisa, have you thought about your wedding plans? We haven't discussed it much, but since we're blending 3 families, it should be a family affair. Emma can be my maid of honor, John's best man, his brothers-in-law as ushers, Jessica and Amanda as bridesmaids, Samantha as the flower girl, and Michael as the ring bearer. Dad, will you walk me down the aisle with my father? Lisa asked with a grin. Depends on who's footing the bill and if the reception is stocked with Jack Daniels, Dad replied, laughing. What do you think, John? Lisa asked. It's perfect. It will bring us all together. If that's what you want, let's do it, I replied. Should we invite Caroline? I wondered aloud. Both my parents firmly said no. Mom, Dad, in the coming weeks, the media will expose a lot. I'm suing the federal government, Caroline's parents, and her husband. I believe Caroline was as much a victim as I was. I paid the price years ago, and now Caroline is paying in ways we can't even imagine. She thinks she's lost her daughters forever, I explained. Inviting her might help the twins and her rebuild their relationship and move on from the past. Lisa and my parents looked at me in awe. Where did that wisdom come from? My dad asked, genuinely surprised. These last few days have taught me a lot, I replied, holding Lisa's hand. Amanda's arrival made me realize what's truly important in life. We returned to my room, and I quickly fell asleep, exhausted from the surgery. Lisa stayed by my side and watched the news. Christopher Nelson and Brian Taylor had been arrested for lying to the FBI. The person behind the contract on my life had turned state's evidence. My lawyer released details of my firing from the FBI, prompting an internal review. When I woke up, Lisa filled me in. Dr. Walker informed us that my mother and I would be released the next day. You'll need follow-ups and to get your stitches removed, he said. Jessica is doing better than expected. The big question is how she'll respond as she's weaned off her meds. We talked to my parents, who decided to stay in the city until Jessica was on the road to recovery. They would fly back with us on the private plane. Dad booked into the same hotel as Lisa, and the bus driver was instructed to head back. Over the next few days, the media laid bare the deception, backstabbing, and political machinations that ruined my marriage and career. They spent a day dissecting how Caroline's father manipulated her into believing falsehoods. Caroline was publicly scrutinized. Lisa and I were headed to visit Jessica one last time before going home. Dr. Walker had proudly said she was on the path to a full recovery. Someone high up must have disliked the negative media coverage about the Fed's past dealings with me because the security clearance my publisher and I were waiting for was suddenly approved. Within 2 weeks, over 1 million hard copies of my new book would hit the market. I had 2 first editions delivered overnight. After signing them, Lisa wrapped them up, and we hid them in a shopping bag. We made sure Amanda would be there when we visited Jessica. Your dad and I have set the wedding date for the first weekend in October, Lisa announced with a smile. Aunt Emma will be my maid of honor. I was wondering if you two would be my bridesmaids. Jessica's eyes lit up. Absolutely, Lisa. When I first walked into Dad's office, I was terrified, but you recognized me immediately and said, Caroline's daughter, how are we going to handle this? It stunned me how you accepted me from day one. I'd be honored to be in your wedding, and I'd love to call you Mom. The 3 of them hugged, and Jessica literally jumped out of bed with excitement. Once things settled down, I pulled out the gifts and handed each of them a signed first edition of my book with the inscription, to one of the 2 prettiest ladies who call me Dad, with love, David Porter or John Evan Williams. Jessica was over the moon when she unwrapped it. It was my biggest book yet, over 400 pages. Her face beamed with pride, knowing it wasn't released yet. She flipped open the cover, read my note, and then burst into tears. "Dad, you've already done so much. I didn't need this," she sobbed, running into my arms. "Before you came into my life, the doctor said I only had a few days left. Amanda knew it too. I don't know why she went into the attic, but I'm so glad she did because it brought us you." She hugged me tightly as Amanda watched with tears in her eyes. "Dad, you should know Dr. Walker believes if Jessica had only received one transplant, it wouldn't have worked." The double transplant shocked her body into responding. "In the last 7 days, she's gained 6 pounds, Amanda explained. "I didn't know if you would come, but you didn't hesitate. You brought a whole tribe. Thanks to the family, I'm getting my best friend back." "How's your mom holding up?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood. "She's filed for divorce and is going to therapy to deal with a lifetime of lies." "She now understands what you went through and is ashamed," Jessica said. "She says only someone who has experienced it can understand that it's a living hell. Her work and friends are her support. Mom is strong and will get through it. The key will be getting her to trust again. Right now, she doesn't know who or what to believe." Amanda, even with family support, regaining trust can take years. It requires an unexpected act of faith. For me, it was Amanda walking through my office door, I said. "Thank God you did," Lisa added with a chuckle. "John had me thinking I'd die an old maid waiting for him. Now, girls, stand by your father so I can capture a few photos. The best one will be an 8x10 for his desk." When we stepped off the plane, we were greeted by Lisa's parents and children. The kids nearly knocked me down with their excitement, which was contagious. My dad enjoyed hearing them call me Dad. I realized Michael would have 2 older sisters and 1 younger just like me. Samantha hugged my mom and said, "I'm so happy you're becoming my grandmother." I reflected on how quickly my life was transforming with these unexpected blessings. Lisa and I decided to postpone our initial plans until after the wedding. Lisa knew our needs, so I let her handle finding a new home. This gave me time to write my first fiction book. My previous works had exposed corruption and cover-ups. We stayed in touch with the twins, and Lisa found a beautiful 10-acre property with an old barn that needed some TLC. Jessica was improving and returned to school part-time. We hired a firm to design our dream house with steel and brick, featuring an outdoor kitchen, large patio, pool, and a 2-bay garage. With Lisa reducing her office hours, I had more time to focus on writing, and with the help of an editor, I completed over 200 pages, publishing my first book under my real name. Caroline used my lawyer to divorce Brian, securing alimony and covering education costs. My cases were in mediation, and the opposition had lost the will to fight. Samantha, Michael, Lisa, and I eagerly awaited the twins' arrival after their last school day. Michael spotted them driving up our new driveway, and we all rushed outside to greet them. As they stepped out of the Explorer, I was amazed at Jessica's recovery. She looked indistinguishable from Amanda. Lisa whispered, "Well, figure it out." Michael, playing the protective big brother, carried their luggage while Lisa proudly showed off the house.